Welcome to Hudson Valley Unleashed, the podcast that pulls the curtain back on one of America's best-kept hidden gems and surprising people that live here, New York's Hudson Valley. Listen each week as John, Josh, and Dave have a fun chat with national and local luminaries that will make you beg the question, what don't I know about the Hudson Valley yet? I'm Dave Leonard, former program director of WDST and co-founder of WKZE, host of Radio Unleashed. With me is chef owner Josh Kroner, culinary creative force behind the Hudson Valley's Terrapin restaurant, and comic writer, pop culture expert, and owner of the only black-owned comic book store in New York State, John Michelle. Running the show behind the scenes is Jacob Hutchings, producing the show, keeping us on point, making sure that we all have fun and sound great. Our podcast is supported by...
Looking to transform your space? HV Builders is a boutique construction company based in Rhinebeck, New York. From sleek modern designs to timeless classics, we bring your vision to life with quality craftsmanship. Whether it's your kitchen, bath, or a full home refresh, trust HV Builders to elevate your space. Call or text us at 845-901-9025 and let's build something exceptional. HV Builders, designed with care, built to last.
Yeah.
Okay, today we are stepping into the world of raw power, elite training, and just a hint of medieval badassery. Our guest is John Morgan, one of only 10 Strong First elite instructors in New York State. He runs Intelligent Action Training, his private studio in Red Hook, New York, conveniently closed for any of you who want to go from couch potato to carved statue under his guidance. John is a force in the bodybuilding world, having earned a national championship and a shelf full of other titles. John's specialty lies in unconventional training, such as kettlebells, steel clubs, and maces. Unconventional, but not a fad. It's just smart, functional fitness. And let's not forget his other skills: martial arts, boxing, and a proficiency with enough weapons to make him a one-man army. Tactical hatchets, knives, medieval broadswords, you name it, he could probably fight off a horde of zombies. If the apocalypse hits, this is the guy you want next to you. Please welcome my good friend, John Morgan.
Hello.
Hello, John.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Yay, my man.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I mean, I saw you earlier today at 7 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
We had a little workout. 7 is a rough spot at times, but it's good to start your day fresh.
Yeah, man. Get the blood flowing, the endorphins. Get it pumping early.
You can go into the local gym and they give you a free training session with a guy named Bob.
Mm-hmm. 3 of them.
And Bob's sitting there in sweats with a big beer gut hanging over his belly. He's like, you see the circuit machines here? You just hit one in a row.
Yeah, tracksuit from the 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that you're always kind of stressing to me is functional training, which I think is great. You talk also about your role as a trainer in terms of keeping people uninjured. I hear this from all of my friends. I'm over 50, and everybody my age seems to get hurt constantly. Whenever we try to do stuff, we end up getting hurt. Now, the beautiful thing for me in the last 4.5 years since I've been with you is not only haven't I gotten hurt, but I've also healed a lot of injuries with the training that you've put me through. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your training process and how you help people avoid getting injured.
The definition of functional training is basically like training in a way that's going to help you with your DLAs, which are daily living activities, just to make life easier. Functional training was kind of coined when information was easily and readily available for everyone, when social platforms kicked off. People were trying to differentiate themselves from other trainers by branding what they were doing functional. It's all functional training. Something as redundant as a curl is functional, right? But it has to tie into what you're trying to do to make your life easier.
Yeah, what my functions actually are versus, like, what do I need to be strong for?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
does that mean when you get a new client, the first part of the relationship is learning what they do in their life?
Yeah, athletic history, injuries, basically why they are in the shape they are in at that moment. Right?
Gotcha. I can tell you, I'm in this shape because of a lot of poor life decisions.
You look good, man. No one can see you, but you look fantastic.
I'm in very, very good shape underneath a very petite layer of fat that protects my body on the outside. There's only so much a trainer can do with a trainee that has an addiction to sugar and donuts. You know, that's that's a completely separate problem. I can tell you what, I am as strong as I've been at 58 years old.
I only get you for a couple hours a week. The rest is up to you. Homework is important.
Yeah, homework.
Than Josh, and he still killed me the one time we went mountain biking. I think I almost died.
Well, maybe you guys should arm wrestle.
I think regular wrestling I would probably do well.
You did wrestling in college?
I did, not in college, in high school, as did John.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, you should see Josh's legs. They're tree trunks.
Jeez.
Well, I've seen the progress with Josh and how you've helped him. I'm curious because I don't know enough about the training that you are doing other than seeing some of the results through Josh. But do you include, like you said, you do a few hours and the rest is up to us? How involved do you get with diet or adding in aerobic training, whether it's a part of your session or suggesting that for the time when they're not with you?
I have a tendency to let things develop organically. If you throw cardiovascular training, strength training, and mobility training at someone all at once, they're not going to want to do it. It's overwhelming. So while down the road you do want to implement those things into their routine and diet, it has to develop organically. Motivation develops over time. And then there's the whole, I'm sure you guys have seen it if you've scrolled through social media, it's like, do it all, fuck yeah, kill everybody. You got to go all in. That's not real. That's not right. That's not going to get you anywhere, because if you develop that mindset and that's the mission you're trying to accomplish, you're going to fall short every single time. Every single time. So it's got to happen. And it usually is brought up in conversation. So what should I be doing for my diet to look better? Most people train for aesthetics, and they don't realize that I'm not training them for aesthetics. I'm training them to be better in movement patterns. But the aesthetics, it's a secondary positive benefit to working out. You got to let it develop organically, and then you start dropping hints. This is what you should be doing. And then down the road, it becomes structured.
Aesthetics is one thing, which is, there's such an obvious emphasis on aesthetics in our culture. You might look at John or me and say, we're overweight, but really we're functional. Everything I've done with you, I might be slightly overweight, but I'm in great shape. Yeah. And I'm prepared at my age to do almost anything. I can run, I can take a fall, I can do almost anything I could do in my 30s because of the strength that I've developed by consistently weight training.
And now a short break. Terrapin Restaurant. From far-flung origins, the world's most diverse flavors meet and mingle here, in the heart of the Hudson Valley, at your table. From elements both historic and eclectic comes something surprising, fresh, and dynamic. Dishes to delight both the body and the soul. Terrapin Restaurant. Open for lunch and dinner and late night until 1 a.m. Montgomery Street, Rhinebeck. And online at terrapinrestaurant.com.
I feel like the obsession people have with aesthetics is kind of dumb because your perception of body aesthetics changes constantly.
It was actually a really good answer for you to say, I don't really train for aesthetics. I train for movement. And I think people should understand that. How many people come in for aesthetics?
Right. Most. I train people to be strong in movement patterns. To be strong first will get you the aesthetics ultimately.
Yeah.
You've got to start from scratch. It has to be slow and incremental. What separates a lot of the people that I know in this industry is that programming, the way I do it, is individualized. You go into a box gym, they have a cut and dry routine that they put people through. That's how you get hurt. There's really no quantifiable measure for how you're going to progress unless you empty your cup and you start from ground zero.
Well, that's funny. I was going to ask you something like that. The question that I have, and this was something that I just love about the way you train. I did a little calculation. It seems I have done over 400 workouts with you.
Jesus.
And in 400 workouts, I'm quite sure that not one of them has been the same.
Not one.
So
really?
I have 400 individual, it's crazy. I always think, am I going to go in there and it's going to be the same as last week? Is John going to get lazy? But how much time do you spend curating these things? And you have so many different clients that come up with this. I feel like you just know intuitively. Like you don't have to write it down. Mm-hmm. You kind of see what somebody's feeling. You have such a knowledge of what you're doing that you'll be like, all right, he's not moving well today, or he seems like he's a little tired. I'm going to limit the cardio and stick more to arms or whatever it is, and you just change it on the fly like that. So what is it that you do? Talk about how you curate.
Just a lifetime of watching people do this and participating in it. It's instinctual. I do train in movement patterns. When you leave, I make a note as to what we did that day, and then I modify accordingly for the next one. At least that's the idea. But like you said, if you come in and something is off, we will modify on the spot. Right? It would be impossible for me to sit there for hours and structure programs for over 30 people over the course of a week. Right? That would take up an absurd amount of time. Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
just
but you don't need
instinctual.
to. So
No, I don't need to. You know, there are a few things that I do stick to, like frequency, intensities, progressions, things like that. But I also have a pretty solid memory. So, and I see what you look like too, how you're feeling. I don't see what you look like physically. I see how you are feeling, right? And that's why I always ask you, how are you feeling? I don't mean emotionally. I don't give a fuck, right? I mean, how are you feeling physically? What can we draw out of you that day that's going to heighten your performance?
if I say I have hurt feelings,
A lot of us have lately, man, for a multitude of reasons.
yeah, we were just talking about the Gulf of America.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
The
no.
Gulf of Insecurity is more like it.
So in Josh's intro, he mentioned that you train with a variety of unusual techniques and tools, and you also train with weapons. Years ago, I ended up seeing an ad for a guy. He was a Marine who every weekend would be in Central Park, and he was like, anybody that wants to come down here and learn HEMA. I was like, what is HEMA? HEMA is Historical European Martial Arts. I wanted to ask you, have you trained in that before? And if you have, what has your specialty been?
Oh, God. I've got a lifetime of martial arts under my belt, all the way from the karate days, standing there holding poses for hours on end. But then Brazilian jiu-jitsu and edge weapons, I've trained all of that. Hand-to-hand combat techniques, bearded axes, long swords, katanas, nunchucks.
So how did all that come about?
Honestly, just watching movies, it piqued my interest, and I was like, I want to do that, you know? And it was just like kind of like figuring out how to do that and who to go to get the instruction. And then throughout my profession, which is really crazy, as the years have gone on and becoming a part of this organization called Strong First, it's a lot of old military guys. Most of them are champion martial artists, and we just kind of absorb each other's information and material. Now, I have taken dedicated classes. Last year, I took a katana course took about 6 months, my son and I. I actually did it for him.
Oh,
So,
cool. How old's your son?
He's 11.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a cool little dude. He's on board with doing it. More of it's for me, though. But he gets to swing around swords and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So he enjoys it. He's broke a couple of my fingers accidentally, but comes with the territory.
That's what kids are for.
I was in Brazilian jiu-jitsu programs for a long time, and my brother was a professional fighter, and I've instructed boxing for 20 years.
Oh, cool. Runs in the family. Younger brother, older brother?
My younger, bigger brother. Yeah, he's like 6'3", 240.
Jesus.
Yeah, he went pro in MMA in WSOF a long time ago. No, he just coaches.
I have a related two-part question about all of the weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
And this, I don't know how this exactly is going to come back to your training facility, but you have all your weapons, every single one of them, easy access, and a zombie's coming at you. Now, the two-part question is slow zombie first, fast zombie second. First, what do you do with the slow zombie? I mean, now you can have fun with the slow zombie. You don't need to pull out the shotgun for him.
Right. Well, first rule of zombie land is cardio. Right?
This is true.
Basically, you just want to avoid any type of conflict that comes in front of you. That's always the rule of self-defense. That's the first rule. Avoid as best you can. Get away. Now, if I were to have fun with it, I'd go to town, probably limb by limb. If it was a slow zombie,
it would be the broadsword.
It would be the broadsword, the one I brought in and showed you that day.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a big one.
The fast zombie shotgun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Shotguns are our showstopper.
But I like bows too. Like that's
Oh,
my
you bows also?
yeah, that's my muse. I like bows because they're quiet.
Compound bows or
Recurves and a crossbow. Yeah.
I always found the whole thing with Walking Dead and the crossbow a little unrealistic. It's great for the first shot, but
Yeah.
you're trying to load the thing, and all of a sudden
Even a
you're-
compound bow, you'd need a recurve to do some quick damage. You might not hit your target all the time, but at least you're getting more repetition out there.
those old war bows,
Those are long bows.
long bows.
Yeah.
Like those things have more power a lot of times than an actual compound bow.
That's straight up draw strength, draw weight, right? And it's just directly applied to the arrow. However, with a compound, you can exponentially increase that velocity of the bow and the arrow just because of physics.
right.
It takes a long
If you're
time to
under a
set
lot
up.
of strain when you're pulling it back, it's probably harder to aim well.
That's why we do those gorilla rows, man.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's training you for the
Functional fitness right
So
there.
here is my functional fitness, right? I don't train people for really anything other than being prepared if they had to throw hands with somebody, right?
Okay.
If you are prepared to fight somebody, if you're prepared to run under load for a couple miles, just think of how a soldier trains. Sit there and do curls. They're doing pull-ups. They're lifting things, carrying things, swinging things around, having to run under load. It's not that I want you to be good at those things, but if you are prepared enough to do that, you can pretty much do anything else because, you know, physical capacity, the capability is there. If someone asks you for help to move a couch, it's the same thing. We live in a three-dimensional world, right? Most conventional training is 2 dimensions. You're doing curls, you're doing lateral raises. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, let me try and illustrate this verbally, even though you can't see it. We have 3 planes of travel. The first plane is the sagittal plane, which would cut your body into a right and left side. Think of a bench press. You're moving in that pane of glass. The frontal plane cuts you into a front half and a back half. Think of a jumping jack. You're moving in the frontal plane. The third plane is the transverse plane. That's what cuts you into a top and bottom half, and that's where rotation occurs. That's the third dimension. That's the world we live in. We need to be able to move within that world easily. It's not that I want you to be good at fighting. I want you to be able to fight if you had to and help someone move a couch. Not to mention the discipline required to get into shape to do those things. It applies to every other aspect of your life, right?
Okay.
I think with fighting, it's just like with zombies. The number one rule of fighting is probably cardio.
Absolutely.
I know from my wrestling days that half of what we did in wrestling practice was just increase our cardio because it was the person that could last the 6 minutes of hell, which is the length of a wrestling match, is like the most intense 6 minutes you can ever have.
Our podcast is supported by
At Sproutworks in Rhinebeck, we specialize in landscape and hardscape that lasts. Retaining walls, drainage, and full excavation work. Need a basement installed, concrete drilled, or a dump truck on site? We've got the gear to handle the heavy lifting. Locally owned, fully insured, and ready to roll. Call us at 518-567-4928. Sproutworks, built on solid ground.
When I lived in LA, a friend of mine was a Wing Chun instructor.
Oh, that's cool.
And I went to watch him a couple of times.
Yeah, like Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Well, one thing I want to say, because cardio, I did go for a 6-mile run today.
Nice.
Ouch.
It was a jog, not
Dave's
a run.
in Florida, in case you didn't
He
know.
ran to Florida.
I think I've always taken the easier route where it's like, oh, I can go for a run. I don't need a pair of shoes and shorts. That's about all. I never had core. For years, I just used my legs, and all of a sudden I started doing Pilates and yoga in the last few years, and everyone kept saying weight training, weight training. I'm the oldest, probably approaching 60, and I think I started bringing it in, but I'm the guy I don't want to. I'm trying to do it on my own. I haven't used a trainer like you, but I've been on my own, and find myself almost getting hurt. I know at this stage of my life, I need to incorporate weight training in addition to running because that's how to stay healthy. You know, you're speaking about unconventional, and I was in Thailand last winter, and I went to the gym almost every day, worked on different parts of the body, and I met a guy, and he kept talking about peptides.
It's not unconventional to seek out things that are going to better your performance. People have been doing that for a long time. Do you like doing yoga?
My body says thank you, but it's like running, you know? I've put my shoes on. It takes me a week to actually run.
Yoga in itself is probably, if you look at the ACSM, which is the American College of Sports Medicine, they would deem yoga itself unconventional because it goes against all of the norms that we were taught at university or in college. You can't bend your spine laterally under load, things like that. Yoga is all of the things that seem counterintuitive to live a healthy life because you're essentially bending your body where it doesn't want to go, right? Everything is unconventional, right? In the frame of what the standards are by the powers that be that had written them. But,
Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 80s. Every time we went to gym class, there was the presidential.
Oh yes, Arnold,
yeah, his whole program, and that was gym class for us, like every week.
Yeah, it's an easy way to program for all those gym teachers that have those sweet jobs. You know what I mean? But back in the day, in the 50s, I can't remember which president it was. They actually rolled out a really a really thorough and intense program for high school students.
Oh, really?
They had people walking across on their hands on dip bars and doing pull-ups and climbing over ladders and walls.
We still had the 30-foot rope with the drop of death that they were like, hey, kids, climb up there. Don't worry. We've got a little pad down here.
We were just talking about that today.
Well, I wish that it was still used. They don't have them in my son's school. The ability to pull yourself up out of a deadly situation or any situation is paramount. The number one weight you should be able to control, and this is why I was asking you about yoga, the number one weight that you should be able to control is your own body weight. Right? Because it's the weight that we carry with us every day.
So would you say like pull-ups are one of the most kind of important things?
If you can't do a pull-up, you better fucking learn how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
For 1 minute, I can hang from the bar.
Yeah.
Unless I was hanging off a building, then I bet it would be 3 minutes.
You were talking about earlier, like you train people, or Josh was saying that your training focuses on making sure people don't get hurt.
Yeah.
I'm going to require shoulder surgery because when I first moved back like 10 years ago, a couple of buddies were like, meet us at the local gym every morning. I ended up doing something one day. I remember distinctly when it happened. And from that day forward, there was a lot of stuff I couldn't do. And it's just gotten worse over the years. So what is it like when people injure themselves like that? What is it that like you do or take into consideration when you have to work with somebody that has an injury?
So someone comes in with an injury. Before I even talk about the injury, I'd like to talk to the people just as human beings, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of injuries in weightlifting are ego-driven.
Yeah.
You know? And people still, to this day, love to imagine that they are capable of doing what they could do 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's just how people behave.
Yeah.
It's not logical, but it is the element that we have to pay attention to thoroughly when you're assessing someone. So that's why I bring people in for consultations. They're not even working consultations. I just need to see how they behave, especially when you hand someone a weight. Because, in our society, it's a very macho thing. The guys that lift it are like, and they look a certain way, and, I look a certain way, and that sometimes comes off negatively to some people.
I'll tell you my story. I started CrossFit, and CrossFit is great for someone like me in terms of making me work out because it emulated wrestling practice where you've got a team now and, here I am. This is 20 years after high school.
You're kind of pushing each other.
Yeah, and now I'm like, this is great. So I'm over 40 and almost everybody else is about 20, late 20s. And everybody does the same workout and it's timed, so it's a competition. And I'm pushing myself. I want to be better than all these guys. And then, before too long, I blew out my shoulder and had surgery because of CrossFit. And that really shut me down for years until I came to see John. We talked about my shoulder. John had me starting to do these exercises with the steel club. And basically just, you're going over your head like this, where you're just rolling your shoulders with a weight. And after, we were doing them consistently for maybe 4 or 5 months, I stopped having pain.
Oh,
my shoulders are stronger than they've ever been.
You should probably give that a shot before you go under the knife for sure.
Yeah.
I did them today, as a matter of fact.
You.
Like that's one of the most consistent workouts that John has me do.
But the steel club, it actually in one motion incorporates all of those micro movements, and it's very active because it requires focus, control, and it develops mobility. Back to doing yoga, people hate on yoga in the strength training community. I don't. I think it's a phenomenal tool because time steals millimeters from you in your range of motion, right?
Right.
You need to steal them back, man. Just naturally, we're going to become more rigid if we're not opening up our joints. Motion is lotion. I'm actually also a certified flexible steel instructor, which is you both become flexible and strong. So you're marrying kind of yoga under load with kettlebells. It's like loaded yoga. It makes you strong and improves mobility. There's a thought that you can't increase mobility under load. You absolutely can because the weight is going to pull you into a greater range of motion.
Oh, that makes sense.
That doesn't give you a choice.
I just also have been building from core with Pilates and yoga too. I just started running. I found the on clouds and then the hookahs, and I've been running for like a year and a half now. I want to get things moving. I know I need to do strength training. I don't care about my physique. I think that's just a personal byproduct if I do the work and build up my training. I'm less concerned about the weights or whatever in the gym. It's more like, let me just do something, because I know by doing nothing, I'm just going to atrophy as I get older.
That's because you've experienced it, man. I mean, Western medical philosophy is don't move if you're hurt, right? You got to do the opposite of that. That's the best way to fix your shoulder. I'm not saying that a steel club is going to guaranteed rehabilitate your shoulder, but at least what it will be doing is making you stronger around the joint, so that while you're in this specific situation, if something spontaneous were to happen where you had to catch something, you know, it wouldn't...
Or someone.
or someone quickly, it would not hurt as much or at all. I always train people to be strong first, and then the aesthetics come. But what I'm focusing on more specifically on a micro level is those areas that you are weak in, right? People always say train to your strengths, right? That's great. You can train to all the strengths you want, but then there's the imbalance. You'll get really strong at what your strengths are, and your weaknesses then suffer even greater. And when they're thrown under load quickly, snap.
And now a short break.
Need reliable plumbing or heating services? TC Plumbing and Heating has you covered. We handle residential and commercial projects of all sizes, from leaky faucets to full system installs. We're fully licensed and insurers, offering free estimates and fast, dependable service you can trust. Call or text 914-388-2863 today. TC Plumbing and Heating. Your comfort, our commitment.
You've talked a lot about doing virtual training, so you're starting to get involved with being able to be on a Zoom or that sort of thing, where you can speak to somebody and work somebody through a training session virtually. I'd like to know how that works. I wonder about the future of personal training, and what do you see happening? I know that AI is affecting everything, and you see this all the time. AI trainer.
Program development.
Right. AI will give you a workout plan. You don't need a personal trainer. You have AI. So how do you see the future of personal training, and you personally with the development of your virtual sessions, which I think is a brilliant idea? How will that work?
I don't think it's going to adversely affect the business at all. I think that there's a human element to it that is necessary. If you think
AI can't possibly know what it feels like to have a body.
And to have real-time response to how you are moving under a specific amount of weight, right? Plus, you know, going back to the human element, we talk a lot. We've done 400 sessions together. We obviously wouldn't have lasted this long if we didn't like talking to each other, right? The human element is still there. AI is fun to fuck with, but it is not going to take over any type of, unless you're like one of those trainers that, you know, go follow the circuit, do a lap. That's not what I teach. It's very specialized stuff. It's skill-based motion. So,
I mean, I'm trying to visualize your studio and what's going on and how and the energy and the heart rate and what it's doing. Do you incorporate music at all into any of your workouts?
Oh man, we jam every single session.
Nice.
Every single session. I've got guys that come in that I play classical music for, reggae, hip hop, rock. It just depends. I know what people's music preference is.
What's Josh's? Is he like
Nirvana?
Sinatra.
Nirvana, 90s.
Nice.
90s rock.
Nice.
90s rock. In my opinion, also one of the best, decades for music.
Hells yeah.
From the hip hop all the way to grunge.
So true. Dude, it's totally cool to have you come in and meet you here, man. I appreciate you coming in. So you're a dad, you're doing this training, you're living here in Hudson Valley. Do you have a favorite activity?
In the Hudson Valley, I like to fish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you come over my side of the river? I'm on the other side of the river. Do you come over there? Or
I fish the Ashokan all the time.
Well, what kind of fishing?
Well, over there they have bass, trout.
Nice.
I've been trying to hook him up with Paul Schiavo. He's got that fishing guide company. His Catskill Outfitters in Phoenicia now.
Do you have a boat on the river, on the Ashokan?
I have access to like 4 or 5 in the back.
Do you
of my
really?
property.
Dude, let's do it.
Right.
Dave lives like quarter of a mile.
I'm
from
the only
reservoir.
property that backs up to the reservoir. Everything else is owned by New York State.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's crazy. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I was looking at one of the auctions. I'm probably going to buy one John boat this year. I've been searching, but now my son's old enough to help me lug it around. That was why I was hesitant for a bit, but now he's big and capable.
Nice.
Yeah. So I did salmon fish in Pulaski, New York for the first time. My son's best friend's father took us up there. That was intense.
Oh, your son caught a hog. I saw that video.
Yeah, he caught it was like 3.5 feet long.
Holy crap.
And we actually still have some of it.
Nice.
Dinner at your house.
So your favorite activity is fishing, but what is your favorite place in the Hudson Valley? Hudson Valley has got so many different, beautiful locations. Where is it that you're happiest?
I haven't been here long enough to figure that out.
The answer is with Pilar.
Oh, yes, with my wife. Anywhere she is where I am most happy, which is actually the truth, because she's actually taught me the ropes about everything. I knew nothing when we came out here. I'm from Winter Park, Colorado, by way of Denver.
I'm going to be there in 3 weeks.
Going to Winter Park?
I'm road tripping out, Crested Butte, and then Taos. I'm going to hit a few of those areas.
Nice, yeah. And Mary Jane, my dad had a bar out there called the Crooked Creek Saloon. It was one of the last bars in Colorado that had a gunfight.
Name.
Like an old Western gunfight.
Sweet.
It's not there anymore, but
Dude,
I lived above that bar. Yeah, as a child. Yeah.
Wow.
So
All right, so when did you get to the Hudson Valley?
I moved here in 2017.
Oh, yeah, you've got tons of stuff to explore.
It's fun. It's a beautiful place.
Nice.
Yeah.
So have you had any time to check out events here and stuff like that? Hudson Valley has a ton of yearly festivals and things like that.
Yeah, we do them all, man.
Yeah? Do you
Yeah,
have
we
a
do them
favorite?
all. There's some pretty cool Halloween ones, some fall fairs.
Oh,
I've been to a couple of New Paltz that are pretty chill, and across the Hudson, across the walkway. It's pretty fun stuff. But no, I actually like to just go to the mountains and be by myself or with my kid. I don't like being around people so much.
Up at North Lake, you always tell me you like that spot.
Yeah, I like North Lake. It's quick, close, convenient,
That's
especially car camping.
beautiful up there.
Also, 11 years old is like the perfect age where it starts getting really fun to hang out with them.
It's also the age where you have to back off the things you were hiding while you were going camping before,
Yes.
because they're aware,
Oh, actually, speaking of 11 years old, just to add one more thing, I heard tell that you are a sci-fi nerd also.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So,
Well, more than that. More than that.
So have you been like introducing your son to like any sci-fi movies, TV shows, or anything
Of course,
like that?
of
Like what
course.
kind of stuff?
Well, we went through the original Star Wars movies,
Nice.
and then 1, 2, and 3. And then it lost me, so it then in turn lost him, because you got to have a full-time job to just know what's going on right now. But I like the old school versions. Those are, in terms of curriculum, things he has to watch first.
Very
First.
nice.
The original
Classic.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But further than that, I'm an ancient astronaut theorist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had beers with Giorgio Tsoukalos and the guys on the show Ancient
Really?
Aliens.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's my jam. I mean, Zacharias Sitchin, I read all the books,
Oh, you and John could do an entire podcast on this, I can tell.
Definitely.
So, John, thank you so much for coming on with us. It was really great to have you on.
Yeah,
I mean,
man,
I get
it
to
was-
see you all the time, but I got to learn a lot of new stuff about you.
Thank you for listening and spending time with us on Hudson Valley Unleashed. Thanks to our guest, John Morgan, and our producer, Jacob Hutchings. All of our shows are available on Apple Music and Spotify. Feel free to email us at info@hudsonvalleyunleashed.com with any comments, questions, or suggestions. For Josh Kroner, John Michelle, and Jacob Hutchings, I'm Dave Leonard saying goodbye. And until next time, stay unleashed.
Thank you.
John.
That was
So that's it? I thought we were going to do more. I had so much shit to talk about.
So much more I wanted
Likewise,
to ask
man.
and get involved.
Yeah, if you ever want to talk sci-fi or ancient astronaut theory or fix your shoulder.
yeah, definitely. I will be taking that into account. 'Cause
I'll show you.